Here's what I find really interesting about Scarlett Johansson's character in this movie. She basically talks about how when she was younger, she was in a bad relationship. She was in a relationship where she didn't feel heard, seen, or met. And then that's when she met Adam Driver. And Adam Driver was a different kind of relationship for her. He was someone who lit her up. She felt genuine love for him. She felt fire. She felt passion. Now, having said that, Scarlett Johansson then does qualify that there were problems within the relationship from the beginning, and that she basically overlooked them for the sake of being in the relationship. And, part of that was her really putting her own career goals, dreams, and wishes on the back burner to move to New York to be with Adam Driver for the sake of the relationship. Now, fast forward, their marriage has come to an end. They're separating, and she is now using this new job in LA, this TV series she's filming, basically as a way out of the marriage. And she concedes that the project isn't exactly ideal for her, right? She feels it's a little bit beneath her. It's probably not the best show in the world, but it's the show that has arrived, and it's creating a convenient vehicle for her to find more of her independence and her freedom, and like I said, an exit out of the marriage. If this were a real woman, and if this were a woman who were coming to me as a client, what I would immediately notice is that this is someone who seems to have trouble letting herself have it all. I say that because law of attraction states, right, that we are constantly in an act of co-creation with the universe. So everything that we're manifesting in our external world in some way reflects something that's going on in our own internal landscape. So what I'm aware of with Scarlett Johansson is that first, she was just in a relationship where her heart was shut down. Then she gets into a relationship where her heart opens, right? But then her creativity gets shut down. And there are compromises and sacrifices she feels she has to make in order to keep the relationship. Then she's willing to let go of that relationship and step into her creativity, but the way that her creativity is manifesting isn't from some dream project. It is in fact instead from a TV show that she's not completely excited about, but it's gonna work for right now. So what I see track through all these experiences, the consistent through line through all these experiences, is that there's always a place where Scarlett Johansson is somehow shut down. This is a woman who, for some reason, resists letting herself be in a situation where she can have both the free, fiery expression of her heart and also her creative satisfaction at the same time. If I were working with Scarlett Johansson as a real life person, I would start an investigation with her about when, where, and why, and how did you learn that it's not safe for you to have it all? That it's not safe for your heart to be open and your creative purpose to be fulfilled at the same time. Because here's the thing about letting yourself have it all. When you're willing to let yourself have it all, that means you're really willing to let yourself have all of your own energy, right? Because there's no real impulse that has to stop in you. You're free to have your love, you're free to have your art. There is absolutely no reason or no excuse for you to be shutting anything down in your life. But here's the thing that I really want to note about all this. I absolutely believe Scarlett Johansson in A Marriage Story is responsible for creating her own reality, right? That there is something in her saying, I am not allowed to have it all, and therefore I'm going to manifest a reality where I have one thing but not the other. However, that does not mean that she doesn't have a right to be pissed at Adam Driver. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have a right to be unhappy in her marriage. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't have a right to finally assert herself. And I say this because a lot of times I find that people will use the conversation around self-responsibility or manifestation as a way to almost avoid themselves, or as a way to kind of punish themselves or to say, well, I drew this in, so therefore I don't really have a right to speak up, or I don't really have a right to be angry, or I've just got to stick this thing out. It's such a sneaky way that the lower self is coming through. It's just another way of keeping your energy tamped down, right? The difference here, though, is the difference between victimizing blame, right? So in this case, self-victimizing blame from Scarlett Johansson would be just pointing a finger at Adam Driver and saying, this is all your fault, you're a selfish asshole, you never listened to me, it's your fault that I'm creatively unfulfilled, you did this all, right? That's blame, and it casts him as the bad guy and her as a victim, okay? There's a huge difference between that and ownership of the places where Scarlett Johansson feels angry, right? So that sounds more like, I haven't been seen in this relationship, I haven't been heard, I'm angry about it, and I'm now going to allow this anger to propel me towards self-affirming action. And the self-responsibility here, though, so that I don't victimize myself, is something in me co-created this situation with you. Meaning, why was I in a relationship in the first place where I wasn't seen or heard? Why did it take a divorce for me to finally find the fire within myself, to draw some really clear, firm boundaries? Because the fact of the matter is, Scarlett Johansson from the beginning, if California were truly important to her, she could have made herself heard. She could have said, this is so important to me and you are not listening to me. And if you don't listen to me, I am going to end this marriage. But Scarlett Johansson didn't have that fire in her. She didn't have that force of will in her, right? There was something in her that was looking to be shut down, to stay safe. And that's the part of her that manifested this relationship. That's self-responsibility, right? There's something in me that has been invested in this circumstance. There's something in me that has gotten a payoff out of this situation. That's my self-responsibility. Having said that, I'm now aware it doesn't work for me. I'm now aware that this is triggering anger for me. The anger is mine to feel and to take ownership of, and the anger is mine to use as a motivating force of new action. And that's what's so awesome about the law of attraction, is we keep drawing in situations and circumstances to help us heal something that needs to be healed. Scarlett Johansson very likely has always needed to find her voice and assert herself in this strong way. So the invitation in this relationship is for her to finally find her voice. The invitation in this divorce is for her to finally find her voice. Over the course of the movie, that is essentially what she does. She draws some really firm boundaries. She advocates for what she wants. And at the end we see this is not about winning for her. It's not about getting Adam Driver for the sake of getting Adam Driver. It's simply about advocating for her rights, her needs, and it being her turn professionally. And she gets that, right? She asserts what she wants and needs. She creates it for herself. And then at the very end, what do we see? We see that she's been nominated for an Emmy. She's stepping into a director role. She's got a new happy relationship, right? So she rose to the challenge of her difficult marriage that she manifested for herself. In the place where she was not willing to have it all, she manifested a difficult marriage where she conveniently got to shut down parts of herself. And then the invitation of this marriage, in the place where she finally got fed up and she finally felt angry, was to not shut down, but instead use that fire to heal something in her that has stayed silent this whole time. So hopefully this makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions.